Well, good evening and welcome once again, everybody. My name is Steve Kane, and once again, welcome to the Full Sail University online classes. You know what this is? It's a week one Thursday. It is Thursday, January the 10th. It's a little after 7 o'clock, and I'll tell you what, it has been a silly cold day for being here in Florida. But we are going to make it through regardless. I want to thank my live audience tonight. We've got Asia in the house. Brandon is here. Kat's with us. Sierra's rocking out. Dertrick is here. Eric is with us. Frank is there. Gus is over there. John's here. And Jason is here. Josh is over there. Michelle, you got to move up you can't sit in the back of the class, Michelle. You got to move up front. I'm kidding. This is a virtual class. Ricardo is in the house. Robert is here. Sabrina is with us. Samantha is back. Van Trey is rocking out. Junior is here, and so is Wise. Y'all ready to get this thing started? All right, well, you can stop playing now. Yeah, okay. There we go. Well, welcome, everybody. So, I hope you having fun. Sorry for the class archive wackiness. And hopefully things are up and running for you, and everybody's got that first archive, and the second one is going to be just as good here. And we'll get up. Generally speaking, they're up within 24 hours. Realistically speaking, they're usually up in the middle of the night, and usually before I get up. But it does take a few hours to upload them, and then if something goes wrong and I've got to re-upload it. So that's why I say, kind of give me that blanket statement of 24 hours. But definitely, if you don't see it after 24 hours, please let whoever your section leader is, as it's probably easier to reach them than it is me if I am not your section leader. But I'm your pilot tonight on this flight, and it's going to get crazy bumpy. So everybody, make sure you got your seatbelts fastened. Keep your arms and legs inside the plane at all times. Y'all ready to take off in this DC-3, baby? I say DC-3 because, it's full sail. So give me a big R if you are ready. A big old capital R. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Junior. Sabrina, Asia, Ricardo, Eric, Gus, Robert, Frank, Sierra. And Josh is JJ. Can I call you JJ, Josh? Van Trey is ready. All right. You know me. I like all my my interaction, right? No making sandwiches, no Facebooking or Netflixing, right? We're going to sit back, relax, remember my expectations. I do not want you following along with me. I want you just to watch what I'm doing, and I want to make sure that everything makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I want you to ask me a question about it. So get me a quick question mark up there if you promise to ask questions if things aren't making sense. Now, I'm also going to add, just like I did the other night, if you are not making sense out of it, there's no way you're going to understand it later on. So I don't expect you to fully understand it just by watching me. I expect it to make sense with me showing you. And then after practicing it 2 or 3 times, that's when I expect it to fully make sense. So now give me an exclamation point if you are cool with my expectations. And as I said on Tuesday night, we're going to take all of those cool things that we learned about modes and stuff, and we're going to keep applying them. I'm going to take for granted that you remember all the things I said. Man, thank you for all the exclamation points. I appreciate it. If I read everybody's name every time y'all are interacting with me, we're going to spend more time talking names than we are going down our teaching tunnels. All right. So if everybody is ready, give me an NQ. Oh, no, we already said we're ready. So I'm guessing that's no questions. Unless you got a question right here. Let's start this off. Give me an NQ if you've got no questions, because if you've got any questions regarding the last lecture, I want to knock that out because I'm going to be taking things for granted. Thank you for all your interaction. Yes, thank you. Keep bringing them on. Yeah. All right, well, let's do it. So remember, I said Thursday nights we're going to be starting this remix. So when you look under here, it's under the course resources. Easy for me to say, right? And so look under that tab, and that's going to bring you to the remix project guidelines. All right. And so when you open these up, there's simply just a PDF, and that's what we're going to be going through a lot tonight. All right, is this remix project guidelines. But here's what I'm also going to do for you because I'm just that nice of a guy. I'm going to show you how to do this remix project milestone, all right? Because I'm only going to show you what the first week and how to do it, and then weeks 2 and 3 you can do it on your own. But I wanted to go over this with you because this is just to give me an idea through snapshots of how you're doing. So I wanted to make sure that you've got everything that you need here. So I will go over the remix project tonight because you're going to be turning that in on Sunday as well. But I want you to know as we go through it that part of it is going to involve the remix project guidelines, and they're meant to be looked at together as we start this project. So, go ahead, start typing your question, Frank, if you haven't already. And I'm glad to see that people are going to be rewatching the archives because that's what I expect you to do. Remember, at least 2 or 3 times. It's kind of like, learning to play guitar. You're never going to be able to switch between those things, between the chords, if you don't practice, So, I'll wait for Frank. Do I need to wait on your question? And then otherwise, we will get going. Oh, I've got some new folks in the house. Welcome if you're just come in, grab a seat, pull it on up, and we are going to get rolling. Frank, pop your question up, or I will pause out in another few moments and start going over this stuff. All right, so the Remix Project Milestone, like I said, this is designed to just have you take some snapshots of what you're doing and send them to me so I can quickly look at them and make sure you are on the right page. And remember, we always have a rubric at the bottom so you know exactly what we're going to be grading and how we're going to be grading it. All right, so step number 1 is I want you to go register for Dropbox. And when you do that, as you'll see here, I don't have a paid account. I don't want you to have to pay for an account either, so just go straight and get a free account. All right, they want me to upgrade, and I'm just not going to do it. I do not want you spending money. All right, so put up a $ with me real quick if you're down with that. I do not want you having to spend money on a Face or on a Dropbox account. Get the free one. Thank you, everybody. And then I asked you to put that up, and then I lost Frank's questions. Are we supposed to have Pro Tools open as well while we are taking the test? I was reading and figured out all the answers were not there in a combination of lectures and reading. So yeah, I want you to do well on these tests. Have open books and open Pro Tools. Spend your time. Do it right. That's how you're going to learn. Okay. So with that being said, any others? That's a great question, and I'm glad we cleared that up because I do want you doing well, and I think by you looking up the answers that you don't know, you learn better, and then your grades are better. All right, so that is totally groovy. All right, so without any further ado, then let's get going. So Dropbox is groovy. Everybody's fine with that. If you are all full, just maybe get a second email or something like that and transfer some stuff there, or get clever. You can do that, but I really don't want you spending money, Shirley. So I bet you can get another Dropbox under a separate email or something like that, and kind of transfer some files or back and forth or something. But we'll figure it out. If you can't, definitely let me know or whoever your section leader is, and we'll get rocking on that. All right. So enough about that. And now we will look at the second part of the program. So, project guidelines. All right, so download the project stems from week 1. All right, so what I have done, well, actually, we'll do it right now. We'll just go right here, and in week 1, I've got a couple things for you to choose from. and you can go over here. And I'm sorry for the mistype. There was one that said we would tell you the tempo as well, and we're not. We're only going to tell you the key of it. But let's see. Maybe I'll do. Let's see. A male vocalist. Stems War. Female. Let's do this one. I'll do this one. Take me, and that might be a different one. So let's go here, and I'm going to save my project stems into your class and save them right there. So that's going to take a second to download. All right. So, and then you can listen to them to see which song you like. Now, here's the thing. Remember, you're doing a remix, so don't listen to the music because you're going to totally take it out. Somebody wants me to do War. All right, we'll download War as well. I didn't look up. Everybody's like, do War. All right, so we'll do War there. All right, so we'll go do that as well. So that is downloaded. You can take a listen and just see which vocal you like, right? Because you're going to be making your own music to it. So don't care too much about the music, care about the vocal sound. All right, so that was covering that. And then create a new session in Pro Tools and import the stems into your session. All right, so now what we're going to do is get that new session going on. So the way you do this is when you launch Pro Tools, and I've already got it up here, is you're going to go File, Create New, and make sure that, this is the biggest part, make sure that you've got local storage. I wouldn't create from a template. Get your local storage and then name it the way we've asked you to name it, which is going to be your first and last name, Audio Workstations Final Remix Project, AWK Final Remix Project, and then whatever song you are doing. I think I've got artist in there, but realistically, we don't know the artist name. So, all right. So let's do that. I would go ahead at this point. I want you to do 24, I want you to do WAV files. And now tonight, I want you to do 24-bit 48K. All right, now I told you on Tuesday that these decisions are usually based on what you're going to be doing afterwards, right? So the sessions that you're working on PTA 1 and 2, they're 44.1, 16-bit. Very great for audio recording, especially if you know you're going to be pressing a lot of CDs. Well, on our remix project, I'm not necessarily worried about printing a CD right off right now. I'm more worried about getting it online. And so when reading the specs of things like Mastered for iTunes, they tell you to do 24-bit and 48K. Let's jump down a teaching tunnel, and I'm not going to get too hairy with this. I'll just tell you the facts, and then you can come down and remember them. But 16-bit only gives me 96 dB of dynamic range, and we can hear more than that. Matter of fact, loud concerts are often louder than 96 dB. Whereas 24-bit gives me 144 dB of dynamic range, and that is more than my ears can handle. So we like that. So with that being said, we're going to pick 24-bit, and then I also like 48K, and I think the reason that iTunes does it as well is because it's easier to get up to 96. It's only a 2 times conversion instead of a 2 point something if they wanted to go on the DVD route as well and use it in video. So you're going to find a lot of times if your project is going to be working and you know that it's going to be either up on Mastered for iTunes or you might want to have it up on a DVD or a Blu-ray or whatever, I would start off 24-bit 48K. And I always like starting with a stereo mix instead of last used because then I won't make any mistakes there. I always like to prompt for location, and that way it doesn't take for granted the same location every time, so that way it asks you. And so when you hit, you name it correctly, and then you hit Create, you're going to get your session rolling. I'm going to hit cancel, but you would go and start your new session here. Okay, so we've downloaded our stems, and remember last Tuesday night, I showed you how to import under which menu did I go under to import audio? This is the part where you interact with me. Thank you, Kat. Awesome. Who else? Come on. Come on. Brandon, good, good, good. Yeah, we would go under here and import our audio. Well, homeboy Steve, you know what? I was thinking about changing my name. I was thinking about doing like DJ Skane, which is kind of funny because Skane is not my last name. It's Kane, but I guess when they signed up with my email because it's S Kane at Full Sail, they called it Skane. So I was thinking, and I was going to go to like DJ Judo, but then that was already taken, and DJ Jiu Jitsu is just too much for people to say. And all right, so we'll just say maybe like DJ Skane, or somebody said you should just do Skane. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute. What about like iPhone and that, and then like Ice Cube and Ice T and stuff like that? I could be Ice Skane. You know, you know. We'll figure that stuff out later. All right, let's get back to it. Check this out. Go under. Here's another way. Remember, I told you there's 2 or 3 ways to do everything in Pro Tools. Check this out. First, go under your preferences. Preferences? Yeah, your preferences. All right, and check this out. Under the processing tab, see, it's all a matter of which syllable you put the stress on. I'm going to make sure that these 2 bad boys are checked right here, right? See, check it out. Automatically copy files on import. Guess what that does? When you import your files, it automatically imports them. Pretty crazy, I know. And then this one will convert the copied files into your session format. Remember what we talked about the other day, copy versus convert? Everybody remember that? Put up a CC if you remember that, right, when we were importing that audio. So this is telling you right away, if you drag something in, not only will I copy it, if it needs to be converted, I will automatically convert it. I bet some of you are going, holy dogma, I cannot believe that. That is just nonsense, right? But that is dope, as they say, right? All right, so we got that going on. So now check this out. Watch Homeboy Skanes going on. Watch this. I'm going to go over here to my Finder. Now remember, I'm just holding down the Command tab, and I'm hitting that there tab key like that to go cycle around like that real good like. And then what I'm going to do when I'm in my Finder, I'm going to hit Command N. I'm going to pop up a new window so I can see. And I don't want all my files because, you know, we talked about being very CDO. And remember, I told you that's just OCD. We just got to alphabetize them letters. Right? I go to my online courses and I go to my 1901, section 1, because that's where I know I sang it. And everybody was saying, do some war. So we're going to get into war. Y'all want to see that? So now check this out. So after these folks open up, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag them into my clips list. Actually, no, I'm not even going to do that. I could drag them into my clips list, and they would automatically populate and copy. But check this out. If I drag them over to my tracks list over here, watch this. Bam. It doesn't do the bam sound for you. You're going to have to do that, but look what it did. Oh, no, it didn't. It put all the tracks right there. Copy the audio, and let's go look at our session folder here. So now in Steve's artist song, right, that was what there's my session file in my session folder, and now look, and they all copied and converted. Oh, snapadola. That's right. So here's what I want. How many people have ever been to a concert? You're like, I'm in the trying to get in the music business, right? Okay, so believe it or not, I'll tell you how old I am. I saw the Van Halen FUCK tour live the first time, right? I saw Metallica live on the Black Tour. That was, I've seen some wonderful, wonderful. But one of the things that ticked me off when I saw Van Halen play, they came out and played Jump, and there was no keyboard player. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And that's when I learned about DAW support, right? And then Milli Vanilli got in trouble because they tried to fake it out and all that kind of stuff. Well, then people don't care anymore. I mean, look at 21 Pilots, right? You got 2 guys running around the Holstein Stadium making all that music. right? No, there's DAW support going on. We should know that. I turned down my Senate. I sounded, or my meters looked like it was clipping a little bit. So, so now we've got all this DAW support going on, right? And so what we're going to do is, all right, who remembers this quick key? What did I just do to make all my tracks fit in the size? Here, come on, all my tracks right there. I don't want to scroll down like that. I want to go like this. Oh, you're not going to do that for me? All right, fine. We'll do that, and then that, and then that. What quick key did I just do? Awesome. Thank you. Very good. Good. John, Ricardo, Sabrina, love it. All right, so 3 fingers down. And now, for my live folks, then, here's what I'm going to do. What mode would be best to put something at an exact spot? An exact spot. Judah's driving, so I'm going to try to lay low on the jokes. I don't want it's like, Full Sail student who died last night as he drove off the interstate, driving, laughing at jokes that his teacher was talking about. We wouldn't want that to happen. All right, so I'm going to grab spot mode, and then I'm going to grab this. And like I said, you've got to grab it like you want it. Not yet. Oh, boy, wait. So check it out. I'm going to shift-click down here. All right, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to put everything at measure 3. And that way, what it does for my live folks in the show production industry is measure 1, all your keyboards and things set up. And measure 2 is the count off. It goes 1, 2, 3, and then 3 just started. Right? So, Judah's like, dude, don't kick me out, man. I don't want to die, man. So, we're starting everything at measure 3. All right, Josh, you too then. Both hands on the wheel. 10 and 2. 10 and 2, baby. All right, so I'm starting everything at measure 3. So as I start, let's just rewind it and listen. Just listen to it. All right, and it starts at measure 3. Here we go. All right, so we're rocking there. Can everybody hear that? You can just give me a Y. All right, good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. So we always want to leave space here. All right, so now before we get too far, let's go back over here. So we created a Pro Tools session and we imported the stems. And now I'm going to create a click track in Pro Tools. All right, now check this out. If I go over on my remix project, right, and you start reading this, I've got to make that box bigger so the end of the J or the bottom of the J shows up. Objective. That's actually a J, believe me. All right, so I'm not going to read this to you, but what it says is for this project, you are going to create a remix. The idea... Sorry, I did that joke last night, right? So the idea is make sure that you read this and make sure you check out the rubric because I don't want anything to be a surprise. So what we're doing in week 1 tonight is we're importing, which we just did, and we're going to tempo map, and then we're going to set up markers, all right? And so this is, you'll be using one of the remix opportunities, right, that stem selection. And during week 1, we're going to go over the remix milestone, which we're doing now, and show you how to get started, right? So this shows you more detailed things about how to get tracks in. All stems must be downloaded from FSO, and then place them all at measure 3, all right? I'm reading again. Thank you. Yep. I'm not just Bueller, we're going to do this next, right? I just want to make sure that I'm hitting the highlights there. So everybody cool with that? So as we're following along, we just imported our tracks and we have got them at measure 3. All right, and we jumped down the teaching tunnel a little bit and learned about our preferences. So let's go figure out why we need to adjust the tempo of the Pro Tools session so we can lock the click with the audio tracks. And this is going to tell you how to do that by starting to use this. So this next section is what I'm doing here in finding the tempo. All right, so let's start with a little bit of story time, okay? You always got to know what to expect, right? Have you ever been in a store and somebody rings you up and tells you a price that you're like, holy cow, and then they look and you're like, oh, sorry, I accidentally rang it up twice. Like you went to go grab a Red Bull and they're like, oh, that'll be $4.22, and you're like, for one Red Bull? And they're like, oh, sorry, I rang one up, I hit it twice. Has that ever happened to you? Right, so you know what to expect. Right, and then have you ever seen like the person in front of you is like, dude, I guess they're just getting really expensive. Okay, here's like the $4, bruh. And they're like, and they're happy to pay the $4, right? Because they don't know what to expect. So here's what we're gonna do first. We're gonna go grab the transport window, right? Command 1, and that's only the one that's over on that big keyboard if you get the big keyboard, all right? So remember homeboy Steve, I'm not going to talk about myself in this third person, sorry. Remember me talking about manual mode and conductor mode, right? This is the reason that I like manual mode, because now I'm going to be able to highlight this. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to go over on my keyboard, and I'm going to tap the T key, right? So as it starts playing, I'm tapping the T key to the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I know that this song is somewhere around 130, 140. Right? So the only reason that I did that is because if I start using identify beat and it tells me something like 134 point something or 136 or 137, I will believe the computer because it is better than I am, right? It's really good at doing math, right? But if it came and said like it was 80 or 70 or 140, I know that it's right around 135. So then I know instantly that I made a mistake. All right. Does that make sense? It's kind of like the checkout, right? I know that this song is going to be somewhere in that 135 neighborhood. So as I start using identify beat, if I see numbers that are way wacko, I need to find out. All right. So we need to find out the tempo, right? And so I count to it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Does that make sense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? So what I do then is I want to follow along with the beat simply by tapping the letter T. And just to find out about how fast the song is. And I'm just tapping right here. I'm going, and see, look, if I tap real slow, see, I get these low numbers. And so what I'm going to do is tap to the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And so all this is doing, I'm not changing the tempo. I'm just trying to get an idea about what it is. Does that make sense? Okay. Good. I want to see it from everybody. So let me explain it one more time then. So every song has a tempo, beats per minute, right? And what I'm trying to do is I want Pro Tools to lock to the tempo. So before I start having the computer tell me what it thinks it is, I'm going to do my own thing and just try to tap along with it so I get an idea about where it is. So I know that it's somewhere around 138 or 140 beats a minute, right? And we just did that because I highlighted the tempo and I was tapping the T. Look, even if I tap it right now, look, if I tap it real fast, so I don't have to have the music playing to make this thing work. And what this is set for is if somebody says, hey, I want to use a click track, and you ask them, all right, cool, tap the beat out for me. And they're like, it kind of goes like this. Doom, bop, doom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop. And so I say, all right, it's around 77, right? Or somebody says, yeah, I want to set a click track, and I'll say, all right, cool, sing me the beat for a minute. And they're like, doom, bop, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, bop, doom, bop, doom, bop, doom, bop, doom, bop, or whatever. And then so I know then that it's somewhere around 144. So I'm putting all my clips right on measure 3. And that way, when they go on tour, when they hit play, all their gear is going to set up. And then on measure 2, it's going to count off. And then on measure 3, it's going to start. And that happens just in the world today, right? In almost every single concert you go to, except maybe classical music. So all I'm doing right now is the same thing. Like if you're walking around the grocery store and you pick up something, you're like, all right, it's $5, and there's like tax, so it's going to be like $5 and so many cents, or like it's going to be 99 cents, so it's going to be about $1.07. And that way, when you get to the register, if they say, yeah, it's going to be $8, you can say, wait a minute. No, I thought this was just going to be $1. You're preparing yourself. That's all we're doing is preparing ourselves. Great set of words there, Asia. So that is that analogy. Is I only tapped the tempo out in manual tempo just so I could see about where this song was. So the way we do it is I click on the tempo, I hit play, and then I just hit the T key. I tap on it to the beat. So I'm tapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I know that it is somewhere around 139, just as a rough thing. All right? So now that we know that, here's what we're going to do. All right? So let's jump over here. So I want to put a click track in now, right? So here's what we're going to do. Just like I told you last time, is the easiest thing under the track menu. Create a click track. And I'm just going to drag it all the way to the top. All right. Or in front of here. All right. So before I play this, I want to ask everybody something here. Has everybody been in a car at a stoplight and not been the first person? Sometime in your life, right? Or have you always been the first person? I've never been that lucky. I've always, like, sometimes I'm first, but a lot of times I'm not first. Okay, cool. Let me tell you what kind of nerd I am and see if you've done the same thing, right? I got my blinker on, right? And I'm watching it go blink, 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 blink. And then I noticed the one in front of me, right? And they start off together, but then they drift apart, and then they come back together, and then they drift apart, and they come back together, right? And it goes like blink, blink, blah blink, blah blink, 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 blah blink, blah blink, 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 right? So everybody knows that phenomenon, right? And that's because the tempo of your blinker is different than the tempo of theirs, but occasionally they are going to get together and sound okay, but then they're going to drift apart again, right? So this is what's going to happen now. So I'm going to go back into conductor mode. The default tempo is 120, and we're going to listen to the click, and we're going to listen to it maybe hit okay once or twice, and then it's going to drift out of sync, and then it might come together again, and then it might drift again, all right? Because now it's at 120, and when we clicked it out, we saw that it's somewhere around 130 or 140, right? 138 or 140. So listen, here we go. So you see how sometimes it's like one or two hits they might be on, and then they drift, and then they come back, and it sounds okay. And all right, so this is where I'm going to teach you how to get an exact map, an exact tempo map, so that your click follows what was recorded. Because let's say you're in the studio, and they say, all right, you ready to record? And you're like, cool. And you ask them, do you want a click track? And they're like, no, I hate click tracks. And you're like, okay, cool. And you run and you record them, and now we don't know what the tempo is. So we've got to go find it, right? And we're going to use this tool called Identify Beat. So we're going to start adjusting the tempo of my Pro Tools session so it locks with the audio tracks. And the way we're going to be doing this is by using Identify Beat, right? So here we are. We're going to get ready and we're going to find the first bar or two and find the tempo. All right? Now, let me I'm going to drag the bottom of this and make it a little bit better because right now the piano is the only thing I can listen to give me tempo until I get the drums, right? So everybody give me a capital. I'm going to turn that click track off. I'm going to mute it right now. And so I want everybody to give me a capital T if you understand that I'm listening to the piano for my tempo, right? I'm not paying attention to the voice. And I'm counting at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, is everybody cool with that? So, and then when the drums come in, I'm going to switch up. I'm going to quit listening to the piano and I'm going to start listening to the drums. All right? So, what we're going to do, what mode did I tell you allows you to slip it anywhere you want to on any sample? You get sample accurate editing with this mode. The slippity-doo-dah, that's right. That's right. Very good. So, when I'm in slip mode, look, I can make any kind of little bitty selection, big selection. It is unlike grid mode, right? But since we don't know the tempo yet, this is what I need to do. So I always use slip mode before I know my tempo, right? Because grid doesn't work unless the tempo is matching, right? So here's what I'm going to do. Now check this out. We're going to jump down a teaching tunnel for a quick little second. All right, so we've got all of our tools up here. And under the tools, we've got a lot of buttons that we're going to find that are under the option menu. All right, tab to transient being one of them, right? And this is the tab to transient button. If you let it hover over the buttons, it'll tell you what it is. Tab to transient, see? Right there, right there, right there. All right, now guess what this allows you to do? This allows you to hit tab and it will move to the transient. All right? So when I'm in slip mode, I want to be in slip mode because we don't know the tempo yet, so grid doesn't work, right? And Asia, I got your question, and stick around with me after class, okay? So check it out. We said that slip mode, because we can slip it on any sample. Do you remember what keys I'm hitting to zoom real tight as long as my keyboard focus button is on? You remember what quick keys I like to use? R and T. Very good, Sabrina. Real tight. All right, so check this out. If I'm going to zoom out for a second. I'm going to put my cursor here. And so with tab to transient on, watch what happens when I hit the tab key. It moves to the biggest transient right there. And then boom, I'm going to hit it again. It moves to that transient. Boom, I hit it again. And see as I look right here, and you're going to see my selector moving from transient to transient. You see that? Cool. Now check it out. If I hit Option tab, it goes backwards to the transients. Isn't that fun? All right. So this is a much better way than trying to, like if I was going to try to choose this one right here, if you used to be the type of person that would go zoom in really far and then put their cursor right there at the front and then zoom in even further and adjust it even more if you needed to, I don't want you to do that. All right? All right, so Gus, I want you to stick around after class. Remember, I'm going to hold help sessions after class. So I'm going to hit pause for a second of my teaching, and I want to just explain a couple things. Remember that, and this is why I don't like people following along, is because I've got to give you some background information about how things work before we do it, so you have a good foundation. Right? Remember, I want you to all be scarecrows. Right? So right now I'm down this teaching tunnel, so I'm giving some background information. All right, so this isn't something you're having to do. So I'm showing you how the tab to transient tool works. As I hit my tab button, it moves around to the different transients. Okay, And so right now, I just want to use that because it's a better way of selecting than trying to zoom in real close and put your selector right there. All right? So now, the cool thing is when I hit Shift, if I hold down Shift and then hit Tab, it selects along the way, right? So you could listen to this and loop playback and hear that it's not a good loop. Because that's going 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, right? So it's not a good loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going further. And I know that I want to get here, right? So I'm going to hold Shift again, and I'm going to hit Tab. And now I'm going to listen again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So does everybody agree that this is a good loop and that it is 2 measures long, right? So I've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, when I have that done, all right, and I make that, and by the way, if you hit stop and you lose your selection, it's because of this button, this tick me off button. Like if you're checking it and then you hit stop and your selection goes away, what you can do is go under edit and restore your last selection and then go turn this button on, off, right? This is what I call the tick me off buttons. If you're getting ticked off with how Pro Tools is working, it's probably because this button is set incorrectly. All right, so now I can hit start and stop and check it. So I'm in slip mode. I click before the part starts. I hit tab to get right up on it. And then I hold down shift. And then I hit tab until I get to that big peak right there. And then I always check my loop. Now, see, I know my tempo is bad because we listened and we heard a perfect loop. And we know it's 2 measures, but right now Pro Tools thinks that it's 1 measure, 2 beats, and 908 ticks. So that's why we have to go fix it, just like we did the other night when we changed the tempo. All right? So let me tell another story. Let's jump down another teaching tunnel for a quick little second. All right. Gus, I want to talk with you for a second. All right? Gus, if you and I were riding in the car, right? And you looked over at me and you said, "Hey, Steve, how fast we driving?" And I said, "I don't know, man. My speedometer's broke." But luckily, we're going down the highway, right? And they've got those mile markers, right? And so you get really smart and you say, "Hey, Steve, tell you what, here's the stopwatch. I'll tell you when you get the next mile marker, and we're going to time how long it takes you to go 1 mile." And we say, "All right, cool." And then so we're driving up and we hit the mile marker, and then boom, we hit our phone, we start the stopwatch, right? And we're driving and we're driving and driving, and then almost a mile later, we're coming up, the next mile, and we're get ready, hit stop, and stop. Are you with me so far? And then so Gus goes, "Holy cow. You went 1 mile in 1 minute." So let me do a little bit of math. All right. So if there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, and you drove 1 mile in 1 minute, holy cow, you're going 60 miles per hour. Does that make sense? Everybody, does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I want you to tell me no so we can explain it. But that's distance, rate, and time, right? Miles per hour. Right? Well, we're dealing with a different type of rate. We're dealing with beats per minute. It is the same thing. All right? So this time now, check it out. I'm going to go look. I'm going to change my ruler. And I'm going to look at minutes and seconds, right? And it says that it was 3 seconds and 472 milliseconds. Does everybody see that? All right? So we get 3 seconds. So this selection is 3.472 seconds. All right? So just like Gus and I measuring out, and we said, holy cow, you went 1 mile in 1 minute. And after I do a little math, I'll be able to tell you how many miles in an hour you're going. Well, guess what? Computers are really good at math, right? So if I tell it in 3.472 seconds, there was 8 beats, or 2 measures, right? Because it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. There was 8 beats in 3.472 seconds. Does everybody agree with that? Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or that's 2 measures, right? Or 2 bars, whatever you want to call it. All right? So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go up and we're going to make an event and we're going to identify this beat. All right? And I'm going to say, yes, it starts at measure 3, but it's 2 measures. So it's ending. I want the ruler to read out measure 5. And so what I'm doing here is I'm essentially telling it, hey, there are 8 beats in 3.472 seconds. And when I hit OK, it says, well, if there's 8 beats in 3.472 seconds, then there's 138.2173 in a minute. Give me a capital O if that makes sense. Like, oh. All right, so now listen to my click track. So I'm going to undo it. And my click track usually doesn't work because its default is 120, and we tapped it out. We knew it was around 138 or 140, so we know it's wrong, and it doesn't sound good. But we know that seconds are seconds are seconds are seconds, right? Just like miles per hour, we broke down into 1 mile in 1 minute. Well, what I'm doing is breaking down and saying there are 2 measures in this 3.472 seconds. So when I go to the event menu and I identify this, the start and the end, and I say, all right, on my measures ruler, I want this to be measure 3 all the way to measure 5. And what I'm really doing is saying there's 2 measures in this selection. So when I hit OK, it says, all right, well, if there's 2 measures in 3.472 seconds, then there's going to be 138 beats in a minute. And so now, because of that, I look down to bars and beats. I can now select measure 3 to measure 5, and it's exact. My click track works with it. And look, there's no difference. It's still a 3.7. I didn't change the tempo of my audio. What I did is I changed the ruler, right? I changed my bars and beats ruler. All right, so I'm going to let this have a second. And this is probably the most difficult lecture we're going to have. And when you come back, Kat, make sure that if you're not understanding things, you reach out to your instructor, all right? If I'm not your instructor, or if you're your section leader, okay? And have a great, thank you for spending your lunch with me. Quick joke before you leave. Do you know Harry Potter's favorite way to go down a hill? Running. JK, rolling. Oh, it's an author joke. It's an author joke. Because, J.K. Rowling wrote it. Alrighty. All right, now back to the fun. Now, this is why I also, when people were wondering, why is he tapping out the song? Because now when the computer tells me 138.21, I believe it. Because I was tapping out 138 and 140. Right? That's kind of like the clerk telling you, hey, sir, it's 138.2 Or, hey, it's 210. Well, if I came back and the computer said something wacko like 200, I know I did something wrong. But because it came back with a number very close to what I was tapping, I know that I'm right. Asia, how you like that? Thank you, JJ. Does that make sense? Because Asia's the one that was like, oh, so we're tapping just to kind of get an idea about it. Because now when the computer does it, now if it's close to my idea, I know I probably did it right, especially if the click track sounds good. Sorry. Now listen, if I stopped, it's going to start drifting again. Listen here, it's going to get way crazy. All right, so let's pause for another little cause here. I want to take some polls. Get your fingers on the buttons here, all right? I want you to give me a capital T if you think it is true that good musicians can play to exactly a click track. All right? Give me a capital T if you think it is true that if there... here's one. All right, a capital T if there is rhythm on your track, it is either made by a human or a machine. Give me an R, actually, for that one, for like... So I know I get everybody's new thing, and I'm not looking at old T's. All right. So it's either a man, a woman, or a machine, right? Or whatever. So give me a capital D if you think that the drum machine will never drift. If you think it is true that the drum machine will never drift, it'll stay exactly the same. Correct. But if you're playing a loop, right, it's going to stay exactly the same. Unless I program some changes, right? Okay, so now let's talk about... Yeah, I got people going like, yeah, but what if you do this? And what if I've already got a 13-year-old that argues with everything I say. All right, I don't... I'm kidding. I'm not meaning to be silly. I'm meaning to be silly. I'm not meaning to be a butthead. All right? But you're right. But now, all right, so now let's talk about people, okay? So these drummers then, this is where we started. We said we gave a capital T if you said that they could play exactly to the beat. Now, give me a capital G if they can groove around the beat and speed up and slow down. Right? Like even no matter what the music, people playing with a conductor, having to follow the conductor, or Bob Marley, or whatever. All right. So we have just now determined that it is okay for music to speed up and slow down a little bit, right? Especially if it's feeling the groove. I mean, think about if music is supposed to be more important than speech. How many people would like me to lecture at the same tempo all the way through as we go through this thing and we talk about the material and right? So I think music should be expressive as well, right? So what happens is when people play without a drum machine or whatever, man, when I'm playing live, if the crowd's getting into it, I might be playing it a little bit faster than it is on the record because I'm getting into it. And I guarantee that the crowd isn't going, well, I don't know about this one. I think he's playing a little bit faster than it is on the record. I thought, right? I don't think anybody is saying like, Bob Marley's drummer, he's playing the snare a little bit late and there's not right on the beat too, No, it's grooves, man, right? So now we've got the starting tempo, and now we're going to have to get everything else rocking along with it. So check this out. So let me hop back over to our page real quick. You're like, dude, y'all are not telling enough jokes tonight. Okay, so how do two snails fight? They slug it out. Okay, so we used identify beat for the first bar or two to find that tempo. All right. Now, we've got a problem because right now, then, look at this. It starts clicking at 120 beats a minute and then jumps to 138. Right? Let's exaggerate that a little bit. Like, all right, you ready? A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So, we want it to click off the same tempo as the music starts, right? Give me a capital C if you think that's a good idea, right? Because if the drummer's about to listen to a click track, it better be the same flipping tempo, right? Flipping is a better Canadian word than our F word. My Canadian friend taught me that, eh? You know what the favorite jazz song in Canada is? Take the Train, eh? That's a joke. If you don't know jazz music, one of the popular standards is Take the A Train. But since you're in, yeah. Okay. Yes, I'm going to be here all month for those of you wondering. All right. So what I'm going to do then is like we learned, check this out. We learned the other night that I can hit this plus button, but check it out. If you put your cursor here, when you hit the plus button, it'll automatically grab the correct tempo, right? If you don't put it there and you put it here, you're going to have to do more work and type more things in. All right? So what I like to do is I will click behind the correct tempo, and then I will click my tempo change. And what I will say is I want measure 1 to be 138 in that same one, and I hit awk. Now, we got a problem. We got a problem now because now it moved off of measure 3. Right? Insert the same tempo change at measure 3, and whoops, it moved. So now I got to realign the song so it starts at bar 3 again. Measure 3, bar 3, whatever. Right? So check it out. That's easy peasy, right? 3 fingers down. Let me see everything. Show me the money. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click on all my tracks. Put myself in spatito mode because that will put it at the exact spot that I want. I'm going to get my grabber tool, and then I'm just going to click on them. Oh, you know what? I was silly. I should have let's select them all first, and then we don't have to do them one at a time. So now I'm going to click them all, and I want them all back right at measure 3. And now watch. All right, so give me a capital 1 if you understand those, capital 1. Give me the number 1 if you understand those last 2 steps about I made the tempo change the same at measure 1, and when I did that, it's automatically going to move things, so you got to move everything back to start at measure 3 again, and then everything's good. It's just the way it works. It's just the way it works, all right? So now, as we listened, right, as we listened here, my click track starts drifting because I've only identified beat once, and we all agreed that humans will start speeding up and slowing down, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I can already hear it messing up. It's already off. Right? So when I respot everything, make sure you choose everything first by your shift clicks. And then when you're in spot mode, you grab it and you just type in you want the start at measure 3. All right? Now, so now what I'm going to do is when all this happens too, the other weird thing is when you insert that change at measure 1, not only does it move everything off of measure 3, but it erases your measure 5 again, right? So here's where we go start this process of continue to identify beat throughout the song if the metronome drifts, all right? Now, before we do this, actually, I want to do it once. I'm going to grab my selector tool. I'm going to put myself in slip mode. I'm going to put it right before that big spike because we knew that big spike was the one, right? And so I'm going to hit tab, and it still is measure 5. So I'm just going to hit Command I, that's identify beat, and I'm going to say make that measure 5, and you'll see that little tempo marker come in. And see, nothing changed. It just gave me that tempo marker back. Okay. So did you notice that when I hit Command I this time, I only got one place to identify because there was only one spot. When there's a selection, I have to identify the front and the back. All right? So that's why identify beat looked that way when I was doing that, when I found that first loop, which I think is the easiest way to do it because you can check it. And then we Command tab. And we're right up at measure 5. All right? And that worked. So now check it out. If you had to guess, what measure do you think this is? Let's listen. If this is measure 5, well, let's just start it from the beginning. 1, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7. So that should be measure 7, right? 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or sorry, I started counting wrong. We start at measure 3. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7. So does everybody see how I think this is measure 7? Put up a number 7 if you agree that this should be 7. All right, so check it out. In slip mode, I'm going to put my selector before it, and then I'm going to hit tab to transient until it's right there. And it says, no, it's really 71024. So I hit Command I, and I say, nope, make it measure 7. And then if you want to check yourself, you can type in one of your previous ones and see if it's a good loop. And see if your click track works. Okay, so now, what do you think this big number is? What do you think this measure should be? Probably 9. And check it out. If I typed 9, it's going to go right there. But I'm not going to take for granted that that's right. I'm going to put it before it, and I'm going to hit tab to transient. And look, it was really 84943. Because look what happens if I just went to 9 right now and I try to loop it with 7, it's not going to be an exact loop. It's really, really good, but I want exaction. All right, so I'm going to put it in front of here, and I'm going to tab to transient, and it says 8493. Now I'm going to hit Command 9 and say, no, I really want that to be measure 9. And then if you want to, you can check yourself. And make sure the click track works. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just look at measure 11 then, because it seems like every 2 bars is where it is. Now at this point, look, the drums are kicking in, so I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to go work with the drums because they're a lot easier to see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and if you look, there was some space right there, right? So I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to tab to transient, and it says 111022, and I say, nope, I want that to be exactly measure 11. And then let's go just look at measure 13 then. Oh, look, it's a little bit late or early, right? So actually, before I do this, let's just go start at 11 and just listen how that starts to drift.
Last night I packed all your bags and set them
Can you
out
hear that the
next
drum
to
and the
the
click
bed.
aren't exactly tight? Give me an NT if you can hear that that kick drum and that click weren't right together, right? That was not tight. All right, so that's why we're doing this. Now, before I go any further, I want to talk about identify beat as a whole, because people say, "Holy cow, Steve! Do I really have to go through every 2 measures and do the whole song?" And my answer is it depends on what you're doing. You know, it's kind of like somebody like if let's use a sporting example. Even though I only watch a couple sporting events a year, does the kicker have to be on the field all the time? No, they're probably just there on the kicking plays, right? Does that make sense? Give me an MS if that makes sense. I know that we're probably not all sports people, but you know the person that kicks field goals, right? They're probably not on there every play, right? So it depends on the job that you're doing. So when people say, "Do I have to identify the beat?" Well, it depends. We are going to be making our own music to it. We're going to next week we're going to take all of this music out and make our own. So because we are going to be adding music to it, we want to be able to do things like quantize MIDI and copy and paste from measure this to measure that and work with a grid and all that. So it's very important that we have a very, very, very tight click track. But if somebody says, "Hey, Steve, can you mix my tracks?" And I say, "Well, cool, yep. Is everything done?" "Yep, everything's done." "Did you use a click track?" "Nope." "Do I need to fix anything?" "Nope." "Do I need to record anything or add anything to it?" "Nope, we just want you to mix it." But you know what would be cool is if the delay was in time. So I say, okay, well, in that case, since I'm not going to have to quantize and copy and paste, I might just identify the first verse and the second verse and the chorus and the third verse and the chorus and the fourth verse and the fifth verse and the chorus, just so I can do things like have delay times working and things like that. I won't do it every two. And likewise, let's say if this was the thing, let's say it's the end of this like big dramatic movie, right? And I get this part of the music that's like dun 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 bum bum bum. I might have to identify beat every eighth note or every quarter note. All right. So give me an ID. Type an ID then if you're starting to get the idea of identify beat. We were given a track that did not have the tempo put on it. And so we're going through and saying, we're identifying parts of the song. Like, here's measure 1, here's measure 3, here's measure 5, here's measure 7, here's measure 8. And because of we're doing that, it's doing math and figuring out the tempo for us automatically. Just like when Gus and I were driving down the street and he wanted to know how fast we were going. I was like, "Dude, I don't know, my it's broken." And he said, "Well, let's time out." Well, what we did is we timed this. Now we're just going and through and looking for these places. All right, so 11 we did. Let's go look at measure 13. All right, so I'm just going to go right up there. It's a little bit late. I put it in front. I tabbed a transient, hit Command-I, and say, "Oh, nope, I want that measure 13." And I'll say, "Now let's go look at 15." So I'll go look at 15. And because now it's getting close, right? So I just tabbed a transient. Nope, it was 40 ticks off. Command-I till it measure 15. Boom. And then again, like I said, as you're doing this, if you want to build confidence, check your loops out. All right, so I know I've got a good loop, right? And then so I'm just going to keep on going down this. I'm going to do it just a handful more times. So I'll go to measure 17. I'm going to zoom in. I see that it's off, so I tab to transient, Command-I, type in 17. I'm going to go look at 19 now. It looks a little early. I tab to transient, boom, Command-I. It's measure 19. Since I've done a couple, I might go listen to 15 through 19, make sure I didn't mess up. So the way you know you didn't mess up is two things. The click matches, and then it also loops good, right? Okay.
Set them out next to the trash. Set them out next to the trash.
All right. So we've got that going on. I'm going to do just 2 or 3 more. I'm going to go to measure 21. Zoom in, zoom out. It's a little bit late, so tab, Command-I, measure 21. And just so you know, let's do this. Let's listen to it drift.
Could have done the same.
starting to get off now?
And I just wanna know you feel the same.
All right, so the tab to transient button is this button right here, and then I'm simply hitting the tab key. So I'm going to go look at measure 21. I've done that one. I'm going to go look at measure 23, and that one looks really close. I'm just going to go up and hit tab, and yep, it was a little early, so I'll call it 23, and then I'm going to go look at 25. And that was really close too. I'm going to pop that there. Yep, it was only 19 ticks off. So measure 25. I'm going to go look at measure 27. And we'll make sure. And now at here, see, that's early. So we'll Command I and say measure 27. Now here I've got to jot back to the piano.
And I just wanna know you feel the same.
Yeah, see, it gets really funky right there.
And I just wanna know you.
All right, so let's turn off this click for a second so it's not really grating on our nerves. So I'm going to mute the click. Actually, you know what? I'll just turn it off this way. Turn it off that way.
And I just wanna know you. And I just wanna know you.
All right, so I know right here. That looks like a loop right there. So I'm going to hit tab to transient, and I'm going to hold down shift because finding this is going to be easier. And see if that's a good loop.
I just wanna know. I just
3,
wanna
4,
know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that we know that's going to be 27 to 28, or that should be measure 28 right there. So when I hit 27 there, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap up there, and we know that's going to be 28. Right? So now, and this is going to be measure 29, right? Because right there, if we go to 28, check this out. If I go to 28, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit shift and then hit the tab until I get up to another big peak, and I'm going to listen and see if that's a good loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, so yes, that is a great loop. So now I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit tab, and I know that should be measure 29. So I'm going to hit Command I, 29. And then let's listen. That's another one right there. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yep, that's a 1 right there. You'll feel the same. And so that should be measure 30. So I'm going to hit Command I. Measure 30. And then I'm going to go back to my drum tracks. That should be measure 31. So now, remember how messed up that click sounded a minute ago? Let's go back over here where they drop out then. Here we go. Actually, I guess I got to listen to the click if we want to hear the click, right? So turn the click back on. There's your metronome symbol. All right, so it sounded a little funky before it got in. Actually, the transition, that piano part sounded good, but this part sounded a little funky up here. Yeah, that sounded a little bit funky there. See how it's getting a little bit off right there? And look, it jumped from 142. It was kicking at 138, and then it jumped to 142, and then down to 126. Now, I know that one is probably right, but I bet this one I got wrong because of those numbers jumping. Does that make sense to everybody why I'm looking at those numbers? It's the same reason, because that's an instant way to say, yeah, something's wrong, something weird, right? So let's go to 23. and make sure that's sounding good.
You've been right here in my place.
All right, so let's go to 25. And that one looks good. All right, so now I'm going to turn off the click for a second, and I'll go 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then that should be 127. And it's still, let's see.
If you've been right here in my place. And I
Whoa. All right, so let's undo. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this guy out. I'm going to take you out, man. I'm going to hold down the Option key. Watch this, and I'm clicking right on top of that blue arrow. So now I got 139, 137. Let's see what that sounds like.
and I just
Ah, so this is really interesting. So let's back up a little bit.
have done the same. If you've been right here in my place. And I just wanna know you feel the same. I can't take this love no more.
All right, so now you see that now it's getting back off again, right? Oh, I entered 127 instead of. Okay, yeah, that would do it. So so right there is where it was 27, and now I was typing 27 or 127. All right, so now there we go.
Right here in my place.
So now it sounded like we got our kick track locked,
And I just wanna know
and we went back to the piano.
you feel the same. I can't take this love no more.
All right, so it starts right off, getting right off at that section. So let's go look at 32 and see what's going on with that. So I look at 32 and let's zoom in on that drum. So 32, yeah, that should be right there, right? So we'll tab that and call that 32. So because it was so far off, this is where I want to go back and start checking myself. I'll check 31 to 32 now. All right, so let's go look at 33. That's a little bit off, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it there. Let's go look at 35. Look at that. Definitely off there. Tab. And then 54 ticks off. Yeah, look at that. That'll tick you off. Huh. And so now let's go check it from like 31 to 35. All right. So, oh yes, thank you, Ricardo. He is my new intern. Ricardo's my new intern. He's the first one that told me all night that I needed to save my stuff. Thank you, sir. I was waiting to see who was going to do it. All right. So let me, I'm going to open up the floor for some questions because I know that this is a big thing. So we continued identifying beat throughout the song if the metronome drifts, and it will. And if the steps are done correctly, the song will start at bar 3. The metronome will play in time throughout the whole song. So when we go here, we got it. Now we've... And we're drifting this because if I want to quantize or if I want to use grid mode or I want to do anything, it's got to be right. And we all agreed, because some people are like, dude, all my tempo changes are different. It's like, I don't care if he's going from 138 to 137 back to 138. It doesn't sound bad, does it? Because some people think they should just set one tempo and then it should go. Well, that works if you're with a drum machine. And that's what I was trying to get across earlier today. because these were humans, we need to go through with the same thing, and we can totally fix the and by checking yourself as you go, it's going to get a lot done because you can catch your mistake instantly and go fix it rather than doing the whole song and then figure it was messed up. Right? Does that make sense there? Give me a capital C if you are going to check it as you go, because that's the easiest way to do it. Just like I was, go after you do one or two, go set up a loop and see if it loops good. See if the click sounds good. All right, good. Because this is probably the hardest thing that people have in Pro Tools. Now, since y'all have been so totally awesome, I'm gonna reward you with a nice, awful joke. Do you know what's brown and sounds like a bell? Dung. Oh, goodness, that's funny. Yeah. Okay, so or imported MP3s as well. All right, so Arnold, yes, you could import an MP3, and um, because you had the convert button on, it will convert it into a WAV file. All right, so that's important to know, folks, that Pro Tools only works with WAV or AIFF. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. WAV or AIFF. Any other thing has to be converted. So when you're dragging MP3s in, it's converting it to whatever you're setting your session up for. All right? So that makes sense, Arnold. And then going up to Arnold also asked, is this only with live recordings? I'm going to do this to any recording that somebody wants. Well, A, that doesn't have a click track already that works. And B, if I need to add music to it. As I was saying earlier, I probably would not go through and identify every single bar if I was only mixing it because I was just trying to get my delays to go bum dum dum bum dum dum bum dum or whatever and be in time. MP3s won't drift, no, not at all. Well, I mean, it's not gonna drift around. Once you lock it down in Pro Tools, it's there. Now the drummer or the musicians may speed up or slow down, and that's what I'm teaching you how to do, is to make your tempo follow the live musicians, right? The time didn't change, and so think about this for a second. Think about back into the 1900s, right? Back in the 1900s, everybody's recording to tape. It did not matter what they were recording, right? People recorded slow songs to tape, and they recorded fast songs to tape, right? And the tape machine always moved the same speed, whether it was a fast song or a slow song, right? That's kind of like saying minutes and seconds and samples and time code is always going to flow. They don't give 2 cents worth of cares about what the tempo is. It's just recording like a tape machine. So what we're doing is taking this stretchable bars and beats, because that is totally dependent on the tempo, right? 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4, or 1 2 3 4 2, right? So what we did is, because the time will never change, and if you missed this in the early part of the thing, you'll see when I first did it, this loop was 3 point something seconds, but it told me it was only like a bar and 2 beats long. And after I identified beat, then the seconds didn't change. It still was the same amount of time. The speed didn't change. All I did was adjust my tempo so my bars and beats would work. All right. So any other questions? I want to make sure that everybody's good. All right. So if you have got no questions, give me an NQ or an ID, because you identify beat. I'm looking for a whole lot of them. Who's going to be first? Janae was first. Boom. Ricardo was second. Sabrina came in, followed by Shirley, Judah, Brandon, Janae, Michelle, Junior, Arnold, Shirley, Eric, and Judah. Judah answered twice, I think. Holy cow, he really understands it. He's like, no, I just wanted you to say my name again. Any steps then? If these steps are done correctly, we're going to get it. So now what we're going to do, I'll tell you a funny little story here. And just to give you a heads up, we might run a little late tonight, but that's okay. Um, I was my first internship with. I got really really lucky in Nashville, and it was on a Vince Gill session. And they passed around in Nashville. They passed around lyric sheets, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Thanks. I'm just the intern." And so they record it. And in Nashville, the musicians are so good. Most of the stuff you hear in country music is a first take. When they do a second take, it's not because they made a mistake. It's usually because they changed their mind and they want to play something different. So you're dealing with really fine musicians that are making several $1,000s an hour. Some of them are literally making several $1,000s an hour. The bad musicians are only making a couple $100s an hour. So you're getting the finest musicians. So they cut the song, right, and the bass player says, "Hey, I want to punch in right before the second chorus." And why is it always the bass player? You know what I'm saying? But so the engineer looks at me and says, "Yeah, where's the second chorus?" And I said, "It's right behind the third verse," which was not the thing to say in front of the engineer and make myself look like a smarty pants. So don't be a smarty pants in the studio. And he's like, "No, seriously, what minutes and seconds?" And I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "Oh, he didn't teach you to do that at Full Sail?" They always joke, running me over the coals because there's a music school right down the street, Belmont. And they're like, "Oh, they didn't teach you that at Full Sail?" And what they wanted me to do was every other line of the song, they wanted me to write where the tape machine was. So 1 minute 30 seconds, 1 minute 48 seconds, 1 minute 53 seconds, 2 minutes 3 seconds. So anytime they needed to go somewhere, I could say, "All right, you need to go to on the tape machine, go to 2 minutes and 3 seconds," right? And they go. That's the sound of the tape machine rewinding or fast forwarding. And so they would get there, right? So I had to. So then I learned my lesson. I wrote my tabs down, right? So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is create markers. All right. So that way you can identify the parts of the song and we can get to them very quickly. I want you to do at least 5. And so the way we're going to do this is, and I'm going to show you other things, how to work with markers for other functions. But right now, I just want to very easily get to the chorus and all that. Well, now since I've got a perfect tempo, what mode can I use now that my tempo is set? Oh, who's going to tell me? Who's going to tell me? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a G, and it rhymes with grid. Very good. All right, so now I've got grid mode. So what I'm going to do, check it out. Because first of all, if I was in slip mode and the cursor was here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the enter button. Now, that's going to pop up a new memory location, and I could type whatever I want and then hit awk. And then it puts my memory location right up there. Now, notice that it did it right at 13744. Well, that's silly, right? So what I would rather do, I'm going to hit option and delete that thing. Actually, let me show you the window. This is one of the strange things in Pro Tools. It's a memory locations window, but it's a marker ruler. Crazy. I know, but I didn't name it. So you can hold down option on either one of those and they'll go away. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in grid mode. And to minimize the mistakes, I'm going to make my grid a full bar. So I've got 2 beats before or 2 beats after to hit enter. All right, now, you don't have an enter button on your keyboard, right? If you hit, then you're like, yes, I do. You actually hit return, right? And it goes backwards. And you're like, dude, but there's enter written right on top of it. All right, so here's some cool things. All right, so any window you want to look up is under the window menu. And so we're going to go to memory locations, Command 5. I remember that because I'm going to give you a high five if you use memory location. So I hit Command 5. Now, if you look down at your laptop keyboard for a second, see that in the bottom left-hand corner, the function button, the one with FN on it? Now, if you'll hold down that FN button and then hit return, look, it acts just like hitting enter. Now, it won't work with everything, but sometimes it will. So, like I said, just return by its. If you hit return by itself, it's just going to go backwards. But hold down the FN button and then hit return, and then it pops up. Now, that FN button does several different things that you can find out, and you'll be like, "Wow, that's FN cool." And it's all about the effing button. All right. I was hoping somebody would be like, come on, man. It's the effing button. It's the function button. All right. So I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to start hitting function return, or F. Actually, I'm going to hit my return button because I've got a big keyboard. And I'm going to mark up the song.
Last night I packed all your bags and set them out next to
I know that's not
the
really a second verse. I just wanted to show you how to do this.
I'm sure you would have done the same if you'd been right here in my place. And I just wanna know you feel the same. I can't take this love no more. When did it turn to war? When did it turn to war?
Hear the click track getting off?
This love is more than I can bear. Bringing me much.
So you see why it's important to do the tempo map first, because if that starts drifting, all of that's going to get wrong. But now check it out. Because I was in grid mode, I can go right to the exact measure, right? 7, 11.
Last night I packed you've been right here. Love is not just
And actually, that one, I should have called that one the break. So I'm going to right click on it and call that one the break. All right, so now the cool thing is now we've got the intro. All right, we got the verse coming in,
last night
or this one,
you've been right here.
or the chorus, or let's go to the break.
I just want
Now somebody said, like, dude, I wonder if you can like make selections with this. Yes, you totally can hit Shift and make a selection.
last night I packed all your bags. Last night I packed
So this is really cool. I'm going to hit save. Thank you for reminding me, Ricardo. You're my intern, man. What's up with this? I thought you were on the job, bruh. Okay. All right. So questions about memory locations or markers. I think those are pretty self-explanatory. The biggest thing that I want you to do is make sure you're in grid. The other thing that I did is I do not auto-name them, and that way it allows me to type them in. And so, we got this. Now, so we have now created markers, putting them in. And so lastly, if you're doing a remix, some people want to rearrange the song, right? And like maybe I want to get that break right here.
I just wanna know you feel the same.
So let's get that. I'm going to get the break. So I'm going to hold down Shift to the chorus, right? I'm going to go hit Option on all my tracks. And so I have all of them, right? 3 fingers down. So now check this out. I've got that. Now what I can do, I can hit C to copy, right? And now check it out. If I want to copy this up here too, I need to hit Shift and copy that. And if I want the tempo changes to be copied, I need to hit Shift and click up here too. Right? So all of these things are copied. Right? So now I can go hit copy. I'm just going to hit the C key. And then I want to insert that before the intro. So I'm going to go to the intro, and now I'm going to go to shuffle mode and hit V for paste.
I just wanna know you feel the same.
And then maybe I want to do some cool little effects.
Last night I
Right? Right here. Last night. We'll put some stutters.
last night.
All right, because you know your grid, right? You're in grid mode, so go to a 30-second grid. If your grid lines don't show up, you got to hit that little button. And that's how you know that's that. So maybe we'll get this part right here. And I'm just going to duplicate over it. So now I'm going to go back to grid mode, and I'm just going to duplicate over it. And so now I get like,
Last night,
maybe I'll do one more.
last night,
And then what I can do is I can highlight them all. Check this out. Because they were like clicking a little bit, I'll go to slip mode. Check this out. And then I'm going to go into my edit menu. And you don't have to do this, but because it was like clicking and stuff, I'm going to go just create a bunch of fades and listen to them then. Just hit awk, let's listen to them. And listen.
last night,
See how much better that sounded without the clicks?
last night, I packed all your bags.
And we'll have the stutter in the inside of bags. Now, this time I'm not going to grab slip, I'm going to grab grid again. Make sure that's the word bags.
Bag, 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 bag,
That didn't really work like I want it to. Let's see.
bag. Set them out next to the trash.
Let's do that. See if we can hear that one.
Trash.
Yeah, she's got a little glitch in her voice now.
Next to the trash.
And if you heard that little click, again, if you want to do something like that, you can always go to slip mode and then just grab a little bit before it and go a little bit after it and then hit your Command F and just let it do its thing. And I'll explain more about this window in a little while in another lecture. But
Trash.
yeah, listen to that. That sounded.
Trash. Trash.
All right, so now we arranged the song a little bit.
I just wanna know you feel the same. Last night I packed all your.
You know, you also learned about verify last time. Let's have her do that a couple times. So I'm gonna copy that, and we'll put ourselves in grid mode, and put it right here. All right, and then let's go up to Audio Suite and pitch shift it like we did the other one. Pitch shift it instead of verify. Take it. I'm just gonna put it up like. We'll go up something silly like an octave. See, and this is what I was talking about. Everything that we do on Tuesday nights, you can apply to your remix.
I just wanna know you feel the same.
All right, so I'm going to hit save right there. I have a question. It says, what about moving the section completely? Yes, thank you, Ricardo. Junior, tell me what you mean by, like, if you want to change put the chorus up front or something like that. Yeah, totally. It's a remix. You can do whatever you want. Just like I took that tagline and did that. What I would do in this case is make sure, like, if you wanted to start with that chorus, right there is after you select it, get all of your tracks selected, right? And whoops, let's get that one too. And then just don't forget to grab all of your tempo information and your, come on, the tempo information and the marker information. And then I want to get the chorus there. All right. So I've got all that. Come on, shift. All right. So now I've got all that. So if I wanted to copy that, I'm just going to hit C. I'm going to hit copy. Boom. Now you have to go to back to shuffle mode. Remember how I was talking about the other day? Right? And then shuffle mode, if I wanted to start with that, I'm just going to hit paste. And now I've got... Whoops. Let's go here. I love that up high. So does that make sense, Junior? I wanted to cut it out and place it, and remove it from where it was and just place it somewhere else. I would just hit X. Yes, but then you're going to leave a donut hole, right? So that's where I like shuffle mode. So if let's say you wanted to take out the break, right? So check this out. I'm going to hit option here. All right. And we wanted to take out the break from the chorus right there, right? If I am in slip mode, look what happens, or grid mode, whatever. If I hit delete or cut or whatever, it's going to leave a donut, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to use shuffle mode, right? And now, if I want to take that break out, and make sure that you grab all of it, right? You got to grab all of it. Come on. Break to chorus. Tempo as well. And now in shuffle mode, when you hit delete, it'll bring back everything. Right? Remember shuffle mode? All right. So hit Command S. All right. So now, we rearranged the song, and we got our song structure out. So we're pretty good. Now, that's all we're doing for tonight. Week 1. We tempo mapped our song, created markers, and we arranged it. Arranging the song is very fun. Much more fun than identifying the beat. Do you know what I mean? All right, so I'm going back over to the remix. So guidelines. Sorry, not the remix guidelines. The remix milestone that you're going to turn in. So we adjusted the tempo. We created memory locations. So what you're going to do then is you create your Dropbox. You downloaded your files. You're creating a new session. We made our click track, right? And like I said, make sure you use both documents, changing the tempos. All of this is right there, right? Creating memory locations, right? So now I want you to go take snapshots of this week, because every week you're going to be turning in this project milestone, right? And all it is a bunch of snapshots. Now, make sure that you know that screenshots appear on the desktop. You can put them in Word and put them in FSO from there. So capture the screenshots is a Shift Command 3, and you're going to name it, whatever it is. So I'm going to go to my Word document. I'm going to start Word. I'm going to get a new one. And get a new Word document down here. All right, cool. We got our Word document. So then what you're going to do is it says, be sure to include the image above for the example in the title. So I'm going to copy the title, and then I'm going to go over to Word. I'm going to put about this Mac. So I'm going to go over here into my section about this Mac, and I'm going to take a snapshot of it. And you can hit Shift Command 3 or Shift Command 4, either one. If you do Shift Command 4, you can drag it right around it. And then let's see. Let's go ahead and grab another one, About Pro Tools. So when I'm in Pro Tools, I'll do 2 of these for you. I'll just go grab the About Pro Tools window. And I'll do the whole screenshot here, Shift Command 4. Or sorry, Shift Command 3. All right, and that way you see what version you're in and stuff, just like you did in that software video. All right, so now, and about Pro Tools. So let's go get about this Pro Tools window. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go back over to Word. I said I'm going to go back over to Word. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room. Paste that. All right, so now right here then, I'm going to go over to my desktop. Command in. My desktop. And my two screenshots. That's about Pro Tools. And there's about this Mac. All right, so about this Mac, I'm going to grab it and drag it in. You don't have to make it really silly big if you don't want to. You can just kind of, get it going on so I can see it. Come on, really? You can make it. And then so about Pro Tools, so just go down here and then back over to your Finder and grab your Pro Tools screenshot. And you'll drag that down there. And you'll put that down there, right? So you do all the screenshots that we ask you to. You're putting your titles above. Come on. Now, at this point, you're going to hit save, and you are going to name it your first name and last name. So I would put Steve Kane. And then, let's see, I think they want you to name it. Let's go back here. We're going to name it Remix Project Milestone 01. First name, last name, Remix Project Milestone 01. And that's what we're going to save our Word document. Now, we do not want a Word document. We need a PDF. So it is very important that then you take this Word document and under your print page, right, you can go then turn it into a PDF, right? Oh, look at that. Acrobat, picture format, come on. Let's go back to home. Really? Okay. So, well, you know what? They changed out that design. Is that the print button there? No, file, save, print. There we go. So under the print button, check this out right at the bottom where it says PDF. You just save it as a PDF and save it right back to your desktop. And so that is what I want you to turn in. All right, so now not the Word document, but the PDF. And when you open up the PDF, check it, make sure you got all your stuff, all your things. So let's go back through this document and the rubric. And like I said, I'm doing this for you tonight. I'm not going to do it on the other Thursdays, because they're just screenshots. I just wanted to show you for the first time that get yourself a Word document, take all your screenshots that we're asking you to. So you're going to grab 4 screenshots. Make sure that you show me I have the markers window open. Make sure your tempo window is open so that we can see those, right? Save it as a PDF and then upload it to FSO. Save the Word doc, first name, last name, right? That's a silly way to lose points right there. The print, we talked about that. Saving it as a PDF, name it as you described it, upload it to FSO. Please do not compress it. I know we compress the Pro Tools assignments, but we're not going to press these PDFs. Remember, as pretty much always, the late assignments will not be accepted. So make sure that you get all that. So The rubric is pretty darn easy. You got 25 points for each one of those snapshots, and then you actually have some additional deductions. So if you don't give me titles, I'm going to count off 20. If you give it to me in any other way except a PDF, I'm going to give you a Z. I'm going to give you a Z. Come on, 0. We had to do the howl sound that time. And as I just said earlier, lead assignments. Lo noto be lo accepted or no. That was my poor attempt at French. Oui, oui, oui. Bon, bon, bon. Je ne sais pas. My favorite thing in French. I don't know. Je ne sais pas. All right, so with that being said, have I got any more questions about what we did tonight? I want to take non-related questions at the end after we finish the archive. But so give me an NQ if you've got no questions, or give me a question mark and then start typing your questions in. Yeah, I see that. All right, so it looks like I've got no related questions. I'm going to stick around after class as I always do with everybody, but I want to remind you, like I said, I do not expect this you to fully understand Identify Beat tonight. What I only expect is that it made sense as I was showing it to you. You're going to have to watch the video again. You're going to have to follow along and pause the video and try it, and pause it and try it, and rewind it and do all that. But it's going to be great once you learn it. I'll tell you what, it took me a good number of hours, all right? So I want to thank Arnold, Brandon, Eric, Gus, Janae, Jason, John, Joshua, Judah, Cameron, Michelle, Ricardo, Robert, Sabrina, Samantha, Shirley, Junior, and Wise. Thank you all for showing up. We're going to be back next Tuesday at 7 o'clock working on our Pro Tools assignment as always. I want you to have a great weekend. Make sure you reach out to your instructor if you don't have, or if you've got any questions. Thanks again for being here. Again, my name is Steve Kane, here with the Audio Workstations and Full Sail University. And as always, peace out!